That's a green light. What's today?
Win. This guy so much sack. Hero tech, he attack. This why no more rocket ranches. Got it? Got it. Oh jeez. So much Wayne.
Yeah.
Hello, America.
Hello, America. Let's talk about a Totar Win Thursday. How about a triple Totar Win Thursday? Good Lord, the hits just keep on coming. What a week. What a week. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 nights ago, Iran attacked U.S. troops stationed on Iraqi facilities in Iraq over the killing of one of the world's most gruesome and dangerous terrorist commanders, Soleimani. And with that action, the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, single-handedly won World War III. No, we're not loading up the frickin' C-130s and the shit hooks to go over and burn all the brown people up. No, there's not going to be a draft. No, feminists, you still get to have the vote for free without actually sacrificing yourself like a damn man. We're not going to suddenly expect you to earn your keep. It's over. Escalation was met with correct deterrence in probably the most significant and positive foreign policy decision made in our lifetimes. And Iran took a bunch of the money that Obama gave them and poured it into some ballistic missiles that they threw into the dirt so that they could keep their beards and their Muslim machismo without having, so they could save a little face. But the fact of the matter is, they understand. It has been made very clear now. With that particular maneuver, no U.S. casualties, no Iraqi casualties, no dead bodies. It's very clear now that Iran understands that their violence will not be tolerated by this president, and if they want to pursue a nuclear weapon and continue to conduct U.S. subsidized terrorism, then they're just going to have to wait for another Democrat to get elected to the presidency.
Yeah, the mullahs were in a bad spot. I suspect they were actually pretty damn well terrified because they couldn't do nothing, but the something that they needed to do couldn't be too much of something. And so before they launched the missiles, they tipped off the Iraqis. And let's be clear, when they tipped off the Iraqis, they were tipping off the Iraqis again to save face. What they were really doing was tipping us off. They're like, hey, we're pretty sure we're going to shoot our missiles over there in about 2 hours. So you want to make sure that you don't have people standing over there in about 2 hours. And the reason why they did all this is it's right there in our opener. We have these things called Moabs, and Donald Trump is not afraid to use the Moab. And yeah, like those Ayatollahs wondered what would happen if Moabs were dropped on them. Because that's how quickly could end that conflict. A traditional ground war in Iran. I always thought, even in the worst case scenario, that was going to be a low probability. But
now, if the situation was just a little bit different, it might have gone a very different direction. And that little bit different, imagine what it does to their math if the Donald had not authorized a Moab in living memory.
Oh, yeah. To secure peace is to prepare for war. It's not just a cute quote, it's a fact. It is absolutely a fact. Because,
And you know your worth when your enemies praise your architecture of aggression.
I mean, something like that. But in all seriousness,
I know I just went from Metallica to Megadeth, but you know what? Have you seen this ponytail?
right, fair enough. So you went from Metallica to the guy Metallica fired trying to recreate Metallica.
That's fair. Architecture of Aggression is one of my favorite songs.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just kind of a funny little irony right there for your metal mythos. Yeah, but they had no choice because they had to do something. But the fact that they tipped us off, the fact that they immediately came out and Chris and I were talking about this yesterday. They did prison shank math on it. It's like, okay, you stabbed me in the back a couple of times. I stabbed you in the back a couple of times. As long as nobody else gets hurt and nobody talks to the guards about who started it, we're even. No more shankings. No more shankings. And it's really funny that they're the ones that immediately invoked the prison shanking math. Because, I mean, again, we go back to the Moab. But ideally, what I want for there to never
Just
be.
part of that math has to include that there does not necessarily need to be a Middle East. Right? Now, they can make the argument that there does not necessarily need to be a United States. And that may be a fair opinion to hold. But that there could no longer be a Middle East at all is an occurrence that exists within the realm of possibilities.
Yes,
we have the
the
force of
Moab.
power to make a shiny mirrored parking lot out of the desert. The desert does not have a similar technological power.
No, no, it doesn't. And ideally, what I want for there to never be another war again. Well, yeah, sure, but the world is not built on ideals. The world is built on practicality. America, for several decades now, has not truly projected the amount of force it's capable of. In the very beginning of the Iraq invasion, we came close with shock and awe, but even that was a pretty muted kinetic action compared to what we could do. Like, if we really flipped all the switches, like, we wouldn't even have to touch our nukes. We just literally
No.
I don't know, Gavin. You're gonna have to. Oh, sorry, Gavin. Stream was just late, but thanks for noticing and being a dedicated fan. That's
Yeah,
Gavin in the
sorry.
comments.
Sorry, Gavin.
Somebody not named Cameron overslept.
I didn't roll out of bed yesterday until 6 o'clock, quarter after. So I didn't get the stream up until like 7. So sorry, buddy. But hey,
no,
you're here for the Totar Win. That's good times.
but yeah, but just to put a button on this point as far as practicality and ideals, in true practical fashion, and this is something Chris and I have talked about on the show before, the most humane thing you can do in conflict is to hurry up and win it. That's actually how you reduce casualties on both sides. And that seems like a contradiction, but it's a fact. That's how you reduce collateral damage. It's how you, no, I mean, just all of it. All of it. Go ahead and bring the enemy to his knees, encourage him to stop fighting as soon as possible. And then, hey, the bloodshed and the death and the destruction and all of that, it stops. It stops. After Japan surrendered, there was not a whole lot more of the killing the Japanese that happened because they surrendered. As terrible as dropping those nukes were, the alternative would literally have cost millions of Allied lives and an incalculable number of Japanese lives. Um, so, yeah, dropping those bombs was the right thing to do. It put an end to the war, and unfortunately, America hasn't seemed to have the sack since then to do what is necessary to win wars. Like the stuff with Vietnam, yeah, we were fighting a dug-in guerrilla insurgency, and sure, we dropped a lot of napalm and stuff like that. But I don't know if we'd just gone balls out. Could we have turned that conflict around? I dare say we could have. I would have involved doing things like going into
Vietnam
Laos.
was lost on television.
Well, that and the fact that we wouldn't go into Laos and Cambodia, even though the Viet Cong were willing to do
Right.
stuff like that.
But anyway, so
Anyway,
yeah, I'm gonna file this one right there under Totar Win. Totar Win.
yeah, World War III, or not, or fine, it was World War III, and Donald Trump won it with one well-placed drone strike.
Yeah. Victory. Now, before we move on to the next one, just let me say this about the whole World War III thing. Nobody wants to do it. In the worst case scenario, it all heats up and we're at war with Iran. Nobody wants a piece of this action. Russia doesn't want, and China doesn't want, for the world's three big nuclear-armed superpowers to start nuking one another. That's not just a war. That's
a
the
worldwide,
apocalypse.
yeah, worldwide Holocaust.
And the Europeans don't want to be involved in that. So it was never really a possibility. Next, the whole draft thing. Shut up. Just shut the hell up. All right? Only about 3% of you can even qualify to serve. You're fat, you're dumb, you're out of shape, you're weak. You're not sufficient. The draft is not a threat to you, snowflakes. You don't matter.
Yeah, where the hell did that rumor even come from? Like, all of a sudden, just out of left field. Oh no, is Donald Trump going to draft people to fund his war?
It came from the propaganda of the absolute cancer that is the radical left-wing cowardice of this country.
Yeah, unfortunately, that makes a lot of sense.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Pacifism is the opposite of decency. Pacifism is the least morally justifiable doctrine that is available to human beings. As a pacifist, your assertion is that nothing in this world has value sufficient to do harm in defense of it. That means not your children, not your God, not your faith, your livelihood, or even the charitable defense of the downtrodden. Nothing has value sufficient for it to be defended with violence. That is the moral base of pacifism. Pacifism is the opposite of decency. There is no less morally justifiable position a person can take.
All right, then. I feel like it's a good spot to end that on.
All right, let's button that up and move on to the next. What? So, there's this little company. You might have heard of them. CNN! And they have settled with Nicholas Sandmann. Oh, how glorious is that? You know what? I pulled up some articles, but I whatever. We're going with it. We didn't even get into the whole thing about 30 U.S. casualties in Iran and whoops, MSNBC got caught with their pants down. That's all we really need to know. American news media was reporting straight fake news, which is what happened with CNN. Just real quick recap. Nicholas Sandmann, young Catholic schoolboy wearing a MAGA hat, was assaulted by meth head Indian and a bunch of black Hebrew racist Israelites who were shouting homophobic slurs and all of that. And our fair and balanced news media, CNN, ABC, MSNBC, well, they ran with it. They ran with it, and they lambasted this kid and his high school in the media so aggressively that the diocese, the religious leadership, the academic leadership from the high school and from the district talked about punishing the children for what they had done and made huge sweeping apologies to all the right assholes. And it's this simple. The story that Nicholas Sandmann had and his friends had somehow done something wrong was never but an absolute fabrication. Okay, now let me be clear. CNN and the like, they didn't get this one wrong, right? They didn't make a mistake here. The full-length video that showed very clearly that these boys were assaulted was available before the carefully edited short clip that most uncharitably showed Nicholas Sandmann standing still while the meth head Indian beat a drum in his face, and that was reported as being video of him blocking Nathan Phillips' path aggressively and trying to be intimidating and cruel. Right? So even the least charitable interpretation of the situation was a bald-faced lie. It was a lie from the beginning, and there was never a point at which the information was not sufficiently available for it to be fact-checked. Yeah, so it's not just, they didn't get this wrong. They went out of their way to misreport it. They went out of their way to pick out a white kid and just murder him across the tabloids. And yes, by tabloids, I mean ABC, MSNBC, CNN, NBC, the like.
Yeah, and it literally took like Styx Hexenhammer, Tim Pool, and Sinatra Says, and all those guys. Like literally took them 24 hours to come out with videos explaining in great detail what happened, because all you had to do was just watch the videos. And what's amazing to me is I did not have the amount of class Sandmann had at 16 years old. At 16 years old, I'm not proud of it, but it just is what it is. But at 16 years old, if I had been Sandmann, God, I might have punched an Indian in the face. That might have happened. We'll just make all your teeth a matching set, sir. The fact that he stood there and smiled and took it, especially after an extended period of verbal abuse from multiple people, like, just hats off to the kid. Like, really, like, his parents did something right with him. Or, I don't know, maybe even that Catholic school did something right with him. But, it, God forbid we talk about morality and how that affects people.
Well, I suspect his parents did something right with him because that Catholic school bent the knee so fast that it's hard to imagine their cowardice leaves any room for functional morality.
Mm, fair point. Fair point.
Um,
So then, yeah. So Sandman gets himself a great big dick lawyer, and they just start suing everybody. And I mean, suing everybody for $250 million.
so we don't know what the actual amount of the settlement is, but we do know this. If CNN settled, this is probably the first in a long line of settlements from major media. Nicholas Sandman is about to be a very, very rich boy. I mean, I'm sure that whatever CNN settled for, it's in the several $1,000,000. Because the math that gets you to a settlement is we can't win this, or winning this will just cost an extraordinary amount of money. 250 is what was on the table for the ask. And the math around the number of lawyers that defend CNN, who has a terrible track record of actively lying to the American people. Not when we talk about CNN being fake news, CNN does not make mistakes. There
Nope.
are way too many examples of CNN's fake news. They're not making mistakes. They're clearly saying things that are obviously false. And they're not saying things that are obviously false before the rest of the information is available. They're saying them after the rest of the information is available. So the information is available, and CNN chooses to lie.
Yes. Yes. We make mistakes. Tim Pool makes mistakes. Very, very rarely, Rush Limbaugh makes mistakes. Stefan Molyneux makes mistakes, but CNN does not make mistakes. They say exactly what they mean to say, exactly the way they mean to say it, for the exact reasons one would assume they say the things they say. They don't make mistakes. They lie. They bullshit. They look at a situation and they pull out the 80% of the truth of the situation and arrange those facts in such a way in order to fit their narrative. Like, it's
Well,
and in
Tim
this,
Pool was talking about it the other day, and he made it analogous to the old dihydrogen monoxide hoax or joke, right? You
water.
remember that? Yeah, dihydrogen monoxide. Oh, it's in all your cancer cells, and yeah, it's terrible. We need to get rid of all the dihydrogen monoxide. It's in all the sewer pipes and all the cancer cells and all the dangerous sodas and blah blah blah. Yeah.
I think that there's actually, and this is just my guess because we don't know the amount, we don't know the specifics, we don't know any of it. And according to Viva Frey, his guess is the settlement is somewhere between $5 and $20 million.
Yeah. And that sounds probably about right. Around 10%.
Yes, which is huge.
Well, it's huge for a young man who is not a multimillionaire, because now he's a multimillionaire.
So, but this is what I think. I think the real reason CNN settled, I think it's not the money. I think it's the fact that
the discovery.
Yeah, certain things would have come out in court by necessity, and the damage to their brand would have been far greater than the $250 million. Like, you could have seen not just the end of CNN, but an absolute earthquake in all of cable news. That's what I think CNN decided to avoid.
And if I had my my druthers, if I could give some advice to these young boys, it would be, do not settle with these people. Force them into discovery, take them for everything you can, bankrupt them, obliterate them, destroy them. They are the enemy. Okay, you get all this crap with Jim Acosta and Mr. President. Will you say that the press is not the enemy of the people? It's not the press. It's not the free press. Okay, CNN and their ilk. You are not the whole of the press. You are one faction of the press. You happen to be a very large and powerful faction. But the fact of the matter is, you hate America, and you seek her destruction. It's that simple.
Yeah. Still, though, just to kind of put a button on it, the optics of this still look bad for CNN. It still looks bad for CNN and still looks good for the Catholic schoolboys, because anybody that knows anything beyond the surface level of this understands that this was a hatchet job. And if CNN thought they could win this without damaging their brand too terribly much, oh, buddy, they'd have fought it out to the end.
Oh, yeah.
So,
all right.
And anyhow, we are.
And then, okay, so
we're running over.
Good there. We're good there. And then finally, I said triple Totar Win. I want to give Ricky Gervais just a little bit of kind of an honorable mention. We already talked about him and his take no prisoners assault on Hollywood at the Golden Globes this weekend.
I don't care.
Don't need to go into it too deep. I do have a clip that I want to play from the Golden Globes, and then that'll be all we've got. So this is Ricky Gervais addressing the assembly at the Golden Globes.
That's not where I thought you were going with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Brutality.
Your boos mean nothing. I've seen what makes you cheer.
And flawless victory.
This is the last time I'm going to be hosting this show. I don't care. Oh, shut up.
I know he was all your friend. Well played, Ricky. So that's that's a tripper Totar Win.
How dare you?
I dare, Greta. I dare. And that's all I've got for today. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to drop your cocks, grab your socks. It's time to go to work. Oh.
Going out?
Just one last. Yeah. All right.
Oh, yeah. And then we talk about good guys with guns tomorrow.